you have these men who are like performing this like toxic masculinity, yeah? And they're not able to actually form meaningful relationships because they've never learned to like properly socialize. They've never learned how to like experience like their own emotions other than anger and frustration. And then they hear things like, oh, it's actually like feminism's fault. And then they start projecting all of the issues, all of like the anger, all of what is like happening when it comes to these systemic issues. They just project that onto women, and then they are not going to be appealing. Do you know Dr. K from Healthy Gamer? He's been having like some very questionable takes, and it's like really insane to me that like Dr. K is like driving more into like this incel mentality of like, oh, we need to save young men. These young men, they are lonely and they are depressed, and you know, like women are just like hurting their feelings, and like we need society to like solve this issue that these men can't find dates anymore. But it's like, oh, what do we need society to make women do in order for these men to not be turning into incels? Instead of like, oh, you know, like these guys are being radicalized, they're getting more and more isolated and frustrated, and they blame women for their issues, and they drive more and more into like this like self-hatred and women hating and so on, like pipeline. And that is dangerous. Dr. K, we are losing an entire generation. Are men disappearing from society?
There is a whole generation of men that is like, we are literally watching them die out in real time. We've got 32-year-olds.
Oh my God, it's a male genocide.
35-year-olds who do not have children, do not know how they're going to ever have children. Some people like, just put yourself out there, just work on yourself and things will work out. But they have something in their makeup, something in their attachment style, something in their tendency for social anxiety that allows them to put forth effort and succeed. And then there are these other people over here who will go to therapy, who will work on themselves professionally, who will show up on dating apps.
Are they though? Are they actually going to therapy? Are they actually working on themselves? Or are they just like going to the gym and working out? Or are they, you know, is there therapy going into like Discord servers with other incels and talk about how life is unfair because women don't want to sleep with them and give them offspring? Also, dating apps are a fucking scam. I am so tired of people selling like their courses of like, oh, you know, like I'm a dating coach. I can give you like a good description that is going to give you the most matches. And it's literally designed to keep you lonely, because dating apps are not designed to give you actually a long-lasting relationships, because that is not a successful like business model. It is giving you something quick. And you're not going to form like a meaningful emotional bond with another human being through like a dating app. In very, very rare instances, these guys who are actually looking for something long-lasting, and they're actually respectful to women in a sense of like, I view you as an equal human being and not as like, oh, I just need to be like nice, and I need to put you on a pedestal, and I need to, you know, be white knighting for you. I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about like, oh, I'm talking to another human being that are capable of having their own thoughts and capability of like making their own decision and so on. They are going to find like an actual relationship. So like these things happen, and dating apps can be like a tool to like, you know, discover these relationships. But in general, dating apps are like a scheme, because like they sell you like you know, swipes, and the more swipes you have, the more matches you get, and they just want you to keep coming back, right?
Because of the shape of their face, which cannot be fundamentally altered, or some other thing which they're not even aware of. There's this whole crop of people who I think are trying really hard. I don't think they're losers. I don't think they're like pathetic or anything like that. I think there's something about the architecture of how these people are built so that standard advice does not apply to them.
That is an insane thing for Dr. K to say. Because of your architecture, because of the structure of your face, you will never find a meaningful relationship and form an emotional bond with another human being to the point where you can start a family together. That is a crazy thing. And it is insane to blame like these systemic issues, the rise in the red pill, the rise in like the anti-women like mindset, the misogynistic rise, the role models being people who just hate women, the insane levels of transphobia, which is also, you know, just like normalizing anti-woman propaganda more and more. It is crazy to just like dismiss that and take away what these men can control, which is like the removal of themselves from like these incel spaces and so on, and actually working on their mental health and like their social awareness. No, it's the way they are built. That is the issue.
I almost wonder, is there a mechanism in a human being that if your genes know they're dying out, what would they trigger in your mind? Right? And I think what they would trigger is exactly what we're seeing. This like existential panic, angst, even aggression, entitlement. Because if these men do not behave in this way, they're literally going to die out.
What? Because your bloodline dies, you will get angry. You will feel entitlement for your bloodline to continue to live. What? You know, like I like Healthy Gamer. I like Dr. K. You know, like I've watched a lot of, you know, his talks with different streamers and so on. And I've watched a lot of like the videos, but I feel like there's like this weird trend that he's been like diving further and further into like this, oh, we need to save the incels. We need to give young men the ability to procreate. That is going to fix all of the issues. He has a lot of like good insights to a lot of like topics like ADHD and so on, and it's a different perspective. But there's like so much like, just like look at these thumbnails, like the NPC memes with like the charts and like the soy jacks and Wojacks and whatnot. It is catering to a very specific audience more and more. And I don't think that he is realizing that. I don't think Dr. K is realizing that he's fueling this isolation more and more by being like, oh, there's something about your facial structure that is just making it impossible for you to actually find meaningful relationships with other people. Loneliness expert Dr. K.
A third of the men that I meet do not know how to. That's why they're fucked. Do people have the right to reproduce? The answer is basically no, because for men, that requires the consent of someone else. And my right to reproduce never trumps someone's right to not want to reproduce with me. Yeah. I think we sort of accept that, right? That's correct. Now, this is where the fundamental biological difference comes in. Because a woman doesn't need a man to reproduce. I can go to a sperm bank. Usually, the problem that these men are failing to adapt to can be fixed. But the problem is that my advice does not work for them. Your advice won't work for them. What we need is a different system that addresses their fundamental problems, right? Because I had what it takes internally. I was loved as a child.
I'm not entirely sure what he's like trying to say. It is crazy to me how much like focus goes into like, oh, we need these men to continue their bloodline. Because the thing is like, the patriarchy is essentially being invented in order to take away consent away from women and allow, you know, men like that to reproduce and continue their bloodline, right? Basically overriding the natural selection with women being allowed to consent to, relationships and reproduction, something like abortion, right? That also like plays into that. It's like, oh, if a woman gets an abortion, then the man has to mourn the child as well, because like actually, it's like a 50-50. In reality, that's not the case. It is insane to me how people are just like pushing this idea, how like these guys are pushing the idea that like all of society's issues would be fixed if like these men would just reproduce. Because that is all there is to life. The entire purpose of life, the entire purpose of relationships is to continue the bloodline. When that's actually not the case, because relationships are more than just about, forming a family. What is the point of, impregnating a woman and then not actually having like any form of like bond together? Divorce rates are so highest because like then there is a child involved, but the man is still like emotionally unavailable and maybe doesn't treat the woman right, or doesn't put in any effort when it comes to raising the child. Isn't being lonely and otherwise emotionally underdeveloped more of an issue to their happiness than their bloodline? Yeah, exactly. You would think that someone like Dr. K would be like, hey, look, you can be happy even if you're not in a relationship. You can start socializing with women without expecting for them to be like your tool to continue your bloodline. You would think that someone like Dr. K would like say these things, but like things like that, these talks about like, oh, okay, so there's something naturally flawed with your build that makes you undesirable for women. Everything is just about looks, right? Everything is just about like the perception, right? You have to be the prettiest bird in order to get laid. If you don't have the looks, then you need the money, because then you attract all the women, but they are all gold diggers and they only like you for money. And I was like, yeah, like you are looking for these types of like superficial women, and then you're surprised that you're getting superficial women instead of like actually a meaningful relationship. You need to form emotional bonds with other people. Loneliness doesn't get resolved by you having a child and your genes then finally having this sense of accomplishment that they impregnated another person and they are going to continue on living. That doesn't fix your loneliness, that doesn't fix your depression, that doesn't fix your anxiety. That's literally like saying, like gaslighting women into believing that all their problems are resolved if they just get pregnant. Oh, you have a headache? Oh, it's your womb wanting to get pregnant. You have period cramps? Oh, it's just your womb wanting to get pregnant. Oh, you're depressed? Oh, it's because you haven't started a family yet. It's so gross. But like, apparently, that is what, these male role models are giving to the, to young men, to lonely men. This is what they tell them. And I feel like Dr. K is going into like a same route as like Jordan Peterson, and it's scary. I'm actually like, it makes me physically sick, and it's very disappointing that he goes down like this path.
This is when men get truly fucked. So men in today's society are not allowed to complain. So if you complain and you're a successful person or a privileged person, everyone is going to think you're arrogant. Everyone is going to think, oh my God, who's this fucking guy? This guy doesn't know what my life is like. How does he have any right to complain? And even your mind will tell you this. You'll look at these people and you'll be like, yeah, I don't have a right to complain. But now we need to stop for a second and think about what it does to your psychology when you as a human being are not allowed to articulate your suffering. I've worked with people who've grown up in abusive households where children will say to their parents, Mommy, Daddy, I'm hurting. And the parent smacks them across the face. How dare you? You're so lucky. You don't realize the sacrifices I make for you. It's traumatizing to the child when they say, I am suffering and no one listens. This is what we're doing to the generation of men. People are saying, I am suffering. For 100 years, men have been killing themselves. 80% of suicides are men. The most dangerous thing for a man under 45 is themselves. And these people have been literally killing themselves because no one has been listening to them. This is when
I feel like he observes the problem very well, but like his solution for this is then like women need to like listen to men more and need to like open themselves up for men who are struggling and help them fix their bloodline. This is an issue directly because of the patriarchy. The patriarchy is telling guys that they need to man up. They can't be emotional. They need to like handle everything on their own. They can't ask for help. They are men. They gotta pull themselves up on their bootstraps. I have talked about this numerous times. It would be nice if like these role models, if people who are talking from like a point of authority, because like if you're, you know, you're a therapist, you have been working with like so many people, you've been helping so many people, you have a solid reputation when it comes to like the content creator space, because, you know, all of the interviews with streamers that not just helped the streamer themselves, but also like everybody who's like watching is taking something away from it. You have someone like this talk about like the issues, like real issues that are going on with like men not being allowed to actually be vulnerable, because like, oh, if a guy is being vulnerable, they're considered feminine, they're going to get called gay, they're going to get called slurs. Also, there are women who fall for like these patriarchal like gender norms and gender expectations, and they don't want to like date each other. You have like all of these like systemic issues caused by the patriarchy, you know, like men in power causing like these issues in order to like push us further and further into like this divide. You have young men isolating themselves more and more because like they can't be vulnerable, they can't be open about it, and they are like, you know, being neglected by society and so on. You have like all of like these issues. If you're feminine, you're inferior. You have to like put on a mask, you have to perform in order to get the approval of other guys. And they think that like the reward for being approved by the other guys is being able to form a relationship with a woman that is going to end in, you know, procreation. And then you have these men who are like performing this like toxic masculinity, and they're not able to actually form meaningful relationships because they've never learned to like properly socialize. They've never learned how to like experience like their own emotions other than anger and frustration. And then they hear things like, oh, it's actually like feminism's fault. It's feminism who made it so you can't find a woman like your mom. You can't find a woman who is going to be a stay-at-home traditional wife and who just wants to have kids and cook you food and have sex with you and serve you and do your laundry, the dishes, and take care of the household and clean after you, and also remind you of appointments, make appointments for you. It's feminism's fault. That is why you can't find a woman like this anymore. And then they start projecting all of the issues, all of like the anger, all of like what is like happening when it comes to these systemic issues caused by the patriarchy. They just project that onto women, and then they are not going to be appealing. I hate dating apps, but imagine you go to a dating app where people are telling, you know, like saying that they're like conservative. People saying that they vote for parties like Reform UK. Oh, I am a proud AFD voter. I vote blue. Do you think this guy is going to get a lot of matches? You support a party, a political party, that wants to strip women of their rights. Do you think that is like going to be an appropriate partner? Obviously not. But sadly, you don't hear these guys, these role models, talk about that. Instead, it's just like, oh, these liberal women just can't agree to disagree on like political stances. Oh my god, they are so close-minded. There's like no diversity of thought. Oh my god, I can be respectful to a woman. I have a mother that I really love. It's so wild to me how these people are like seriously pushing this and catering towards this. I showed this clip yesterday, but I guess it kind of fits in here right now as well, so I'm just going to play it again.
Yes, I'm probably a misandrist, and a lot of people say that's the opposite of misogyny. You're just doing back to them what they've done to you, and I'm going to explain why that's not really true. The opposite of misogyny would start a couple thousand years ago, where women started realizing we are way better at emotionally regulating, we develop faster intellectually, and we're better at managing things. Men are good at hunting because they're strong and their stamina makes them good for playing with children while women manage everything else. So we bake that into the religion that we made by women and for women, and the all-loving mother in the sky says that men do deserve to stay in the home and please me and serve me however I want. We bake it into politics. Men don't understand anything about management. Why would we let them vote on who gets to manage? Testosterone makes men angry and aggressive. We probably shouldn't have a leader like that. Women develop faster intellectually, so maybe we shouldn't have men and women on the same plane educationally because women far outpace men. Then we make an exception for a man to go to school because he shows more promise than other men. He almost lives up to women. A man runs for president? Absolutely not. Your terrible management skills that we talked about, your inability to emotionally regulate, why would you ever be president? Absolutely not. But fine, we'll let you vote because I guess you live here too. Honestly, at this point, men are hardly people. They are treated with so much disrespect. They are used and abused by women because they're so inferior to us. And then after thousands of years of that, I make a joke about how you need to stay in the kitchen because that's really where you belong. And I'm only half joking. That is the opposite of misogyny. The thing is, women wouldn't do that to men. Misandry came about in such a different way than misogyny came about that it is laughable to compare. We are reacting to the injustices that have been imposed upon us by men. And I am okay recognizing, based on science, that women are better emotional regulators, better at leading, and countries where women are leading are overall happier.
I've talked about this like a couple of times when it comes to misogyny also affects guys. It's just like a different type of like effect. Oh, these emotions are considered for women. You know, that is what women do. Women are like emotional. They're the emotional gender. Being a woman is considered like inferior. So you don't want to show these traits. You don't want to reveal that you have these traits, these natural traits. And then it's like, why do men have to like shove everything down? Why do men have to keep everything bottled up to the point where eventually everything's going to break and they're going to punch a hole in the wall? Why is that like the acceptable thing? Men being aggressive. But like, why can't men be in touch with emotions? Oh, they're going to get called gay. Oh, they're going to be like degraded and invalidated. And, you know, a common thing is like, oh, why are you acting like a girl? You're being a whiny bitch. Why is that? It's because of misogyny. And it's so funny. It's really funny that when I make posts like that, when I talk about these things, that I have people tell me that I'm a misandrist or that I want men to be gay. It's like, yeah, sure. If you're gay, you should be allowed to be gay. I think you shouldn't be, you know, forced to appeal to like this cishet normative and be like compelled to, you know, find relationships that do not actually benefit you in a meaningful way. Because I don't believe that the end goal of your human life is to produce offspring. Just because there's this desire in animals to breed and continue, you know, the existence of this species, I don't believe that that is all there is when it comes to humanity.